back with another episode of First Person Shoot, the show series where we aim to bring you a new guest every week and talk to them about their particular field. And we're actually really excited today because we have chart-topping sensation Leanne Ryan. Leanne, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. Delighted to be called a sensation. Happy to be
sensation,
here.
Yeah. Welcome to
Thanks for having me on.
Shoot. No problem at all. Very, very glad to have you. Leanne, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
So I am a singer-songwriter from Dublin. I play live with a band called Arkouda. So the stuff I write is singer-songwriter, but when I play, it's like a live pop rock kind of show. Released my first single in January, and things have just gone really well since then. So just trying to get as much publicity as possible and come on shows like this and have a little chat.
How long have you been playing for?
I've been playing since I'm a kid. I remember like literally being about 4 at Christmas asking for a fiddle. Played that all through primary school, and then I got my first guitar when I was about 12. Taught myself to play and just started singing and writing from then. So literally we're going 17, 18 years now at this stage.
Do you remember what your first guitar was?
I think it was definitely gifted to me by my uncle, but I couldn't tell you what was on it. It was probably about €50. They're like, she'll play this for a week and leave it there. But
long week.
No, yeah, attached to it.
What's your guitar now?
It is a Takamine D series. I bought it. I went to Australia a couple of years ago, and I never brought a guitar because I was like, I won't need one. I was about 2 weeks in Sydney, and I was like, no, I have to go buy a guitar. So it came all the way home with me as well and hasn't left.
I guess I have a couple of guitars as well. I never know whether it's Echo or EKO. I never know which it is. It's a semi-acoustic. Buddy of mine has it up in Castle Blaney for a long time. Because it was a right-handed guitar, so he was doing some work to it to change around the pickup and stuff. I'm not very good. I do, however, play a small bit of drums, so I do understand how to do a little bit in that. Let me first ask you this: how would you describe your style and sound?
I would say what you hear on the album and the singles we've released is like live pop, kind of influences of rock and funk, but you can also hear, like when I write just me and my guitar or me and the keyboard, it's definitely more like country folk. I think you can hear that on like Little Cabin with a View and The Best Thing, and we have the stripped version of the whole album on YouTube, and you can definitely hear the more country sound. But for the album, we wanted it to sound, because I play with a live band, we wanted it to sound as close to a live gig as possible. So there's no digital sound on the album. It's literally all just live music, and so yeah, live pop, I'd say.
When I listened to it first, and I remember I text producer Alistair, and I said I get a little touch of and correct me if I'm wrong, but a little touch of like the likes of Carrie Underwood, or maybe a bit of Florence thrown in there as well.
Yeah, well, Carrie Underwood, like I'm a massive fan of country music, so, and I remember her being on American Idol and being like, oh wow, like I like her. So yeah, definitely, like I'd listen to everything as well. So there's definitely influences, like, and the lads in the band, like I know Aaron, one of the producers, he's like a massive Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson fan. So like there's like a lot of funk elements, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, like there's a bit of everything kind of in there. Especially when we write, like, so I'll send them the songs and they'll come back and be like, I have this idea, and I just think they're great. So I give them free rein, and what they want to do, like obviously if it comes back and I'm not into it, like we'll have a chat, whatever, but I do give them free rein. So, but I think it's good because you get 5 different kind of influences, 5 different perspectives on the song. So that's kind of how there's a bit of a mishmash of genres going on.
I suppose the thing about it is, you say you do like that country style. What would be, or what artists, I guess, would have really heavily influenced you when you were growing up?
When I was growing up, Bruce Springsteen, like
the boss.
Like my mom always has records playing in the house, so like it'd be The Beautiful South, Bruce Springsteen, the Bee Gees. Like, it was all old school. And it still is. That's all. Like, I would still listen. I'd listen to pop every now and again, but it's like my Spotify playlists are all like old music.
It's absolutely mad. Before we came on for this interview, I was humming Rotterdam over and over in my head.
Love that song.
I bet you like the Seeger sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to see him in the Point when he did the live tour. I got a free ticket from a buddy of mine. We went to see it, and I bought that CD. I played it so much that I had to replace it. It's such a good album. God, I love that album so much. No, Springsteen's great. Beautiful South, great. Bee Gees, great. All that's great. Brilliant. Love those influences.
Yeah, like even now, like even Queen. Like, I went to see Queen with Adam Lambert in Marley Park, and even then I was like, oh, they're so good. Like, even without Freddie, they're so good. So yeah, all of those influences. Like, I just kind of anything. Like, I'm not fussy. Like, I wouldn't call myself a music snob in any way, shape, or form. If there's like whatever's on the radio, I listen to it. Like, I'll take everything in, but they will be the big ones.
You getting back to, I suppose, the start of the year. You released your first single, Heady, on the 10th of January, and by the 11th, I think it was at number 5 in the Irish iTunes charts. So that was like ahead of, just for example, the likes of Niall Horan and Ed Sheeran. How does something like that feel?
Do you know what? You can't even put it into words, because like that was something I never expected. Like, I was sitting, I'll never forget it. I was sitting on my bed, and my brother-in-law sent me a text message, like a screenshot of the iTunes, and I just assumed he was showing me that he had bought it. And I texted him back, and I was like, oh, thanks very much. And he was like, no, like, have a look. Like, he was like, you're in the chart. So it was at number 17 at that point, and I was like, oh my god, like, it's number 17. And I just like watched the climbing, and I was like, this is mind blowing. Like, we released it we kind of only decided, I think, on the 19th of December that we were going to release a single. So in 4 weeks, like, promotion, it was like really word of mouth and just as much on social media as we could. And it was like with Justin Bieber and Ed Sheeran, it was nuts. So I don't think you could ever plan for that reaction. Like, it was just...
I know I said it to you, but I really like Heady as a song. Even the track is, there's just something, I can't put it into words, I can't articulate, but the track is so smooth, and the lyrics are you know, it's one of those things that catches in your head and you don't forget it. So yeah, no, it's a terrific song. But then you followed it up with Bulletproof. Yeah. Which went into the top 20 by like the end of February. Which again, also nuts. Like to even be having this conversation and be saying, like, I have had songs in the charts and my name has been on a list of these people. Like, songs I write, like, in my kitchen, songs I write in my bedroom, like, me and my guitar, I've been doing it since I'm 12. And now people like actually listen to them and buy them. It's crazy. A good crazy, but the best kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Breaking away from the convention, I suppose currently within the music industry, you opted to release your full album, Neon Love. After that, what was the thinking behind such a bold move?
So the thinking was, we were advised against it. We were told, you know, this is not the done thing. This is not how you're supposed to do it. But I have like at least 5 or 6 albums worth of music, like full songs ready to go. And I was just kind of like, what's the point in not releasing them? It's not like the well has run dry. Like, there's plenty more there to follow up with. And it was just a thing of like, music that I like to listen to, like if I go on Spotify and see someone and they've only got 3 songs, I'm like, oh, don't want to wait for another song. So from my personal point of view, I was like, if there's somebody out there that wants to listen to my music, give them more to listen to. So
more is always better.
Yeah, I guess. So that was literally it. Like, so against the convention, and it worked. It went to number 1. So
Yeah, speaking of things that worked, and while all that was happening, the world was coming to terms with a global pandemic, and let's be realistic, falling to shit. There was a lockdown in Ireland. How much did that affect your album launch?
Yeah, so we were supposed to have a launch gig on the 19th of March in Bowline Social, and there was people buying tickets, and there was a lot of promo done for it. And the week before, we had to sit down and have a conversation like with our promoter, and I was kind of like, I didn't feel comfortable asking, like with all the stuff that was going on in the news and stuff, I was like, I don't feel comfortable asking anyone to come and see me in town. Then they were talking about cancelling the St. Patrick's Day parade, and I was like, this needs to just, we can't do this. So decision was made, we'll cancel the gig, and there has been no live gig since. So yeah, it hasn't been ideal, but at the same time, I think like we put a lot on social media, like, you know, why we were cancelling. And I think that probably got people behind the album as well, because they knew they couldn't hear it live, so we have to download it kind of thing. Well, I think that's why they downloaded it.
So to effectively, it did, in one sense, affect your ability to promote the album, but also gave you what could have potentially been an unexplored avenue to promote the album.
It hindered and it helped, I think. Like, I mean, it would have helped, obviously, like if we were doing gigs, and like we would have done that launch gig and then probably like 5 or 6 gigs in the couple of weeks following it, even free gigs, just to literally try and get new fans. And I think that's the biggest thing you miss, is from like a gig in town, you play your set, and even if 5 people come in that have never heard you before and come up to you and say like, what's your name, or where can I listen to you, it's 5 people you didn't have before then. Whereas you're completely reliant on social media now. Like, so if you're not sharing things, if you're not, like, I'm sharing the most mundane things on my Instagram stories just in the hopes that someone else will click, and, you know, but it has to be done, and we will have live gigs again sometime soon, hopefully. So that's the, it is what it is.
Since that, you've released 2 more singles. Mayday Call in April and Like a Boy in October, both which have made it to the top 10. So again, that must feel really, really good to know that it's not just the first 2, but it's a continuance of, you know, things.
Yeah, you know, the first one, I was kind of like, right, it got into the charts, and I was like, it's because it's new. People are like, oh my God, Leanne has a single out, we better listen to it. Then the second one did the same thing, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just kind of running off this. But then the album did so well. The third single, Mayday Call, did so well. And we had a bit of a lull through lockdown, but like not a lull. I was still writing and recording kind of away. And we kind of just got together and we're like, right, time to release another song. Like a Boy. We did a couple of weeks promotion on it again, and it charted again. So I guess I have fans.
And speaking of, you know, doing the promoting and all that, you seem to have a really close relationship with Arkouda and Silver Skin Audio. Where or how, I guess, did that come about?
So I went to school with Silver Skin Audio is a pairing, Aaron and Adam, and I went to school with Aaron, and they're both in Arkouda as well. So they write, record, produce all their own music too. I've been in school with Aaron since we were babies, like primary school all the way through, and we always just said that if we were to ever do music, we would always kind of take the other one along with us. That was, and we're just such good friends as well. It just works. We're those kind of friends, you know, you can say, I don't like this, and you just get on with it. So it was, he texted me actually before we released the first single. He had texted me a joke, kind of, I had written a song called Take Me There, it's on the album, and he was kind of working on it, and he texted me and he was like, realistically we could release this in 10 days as a single. And I was like, ha, good joke. And he was like, no, seriously, like really think about it, we can do this. So in those 10 days we decided to release a single. We wrote a new song and we released a completely different song as the single. So yeah, it's kind of him. He like pushes me, and he's the one that's kind of like, right, you are good enough. Just put it out there. We'll do the work, and it worked out. So
speaking, that's the story behind it. I was going to say, speaking of doing the work, how do you balance writing, recording, and obviously working in your full-time job as well?
I think it's just a thing of planning. Like writing for me is, I come home, like some people sit in front of the telly, I pick up my guitar, or like I don't even need to have a guitar. I'll be like, my phone is literally full of recordings. I have a notebook in every room of my house. Like if inspiration hits, it's just gets written down or it gets recorded. I'm constantly thinking. I'll have a conversation with somebody and they'll just say 2 words and I'll be like, that's going to be a deadly song. So that's like a constant, and it's never something I have to overthink or plan to kind of fit in time wise. Recording, on the other hand, Silverskin, their recording studios are in Wexford, so that was a lot of why we couldn't release anything during lockdown, because obviously couldn't leave the county. So it's a bit more difficult, and the guys in the band, like we've got someone from Leixlip, someone from Blanche, someone from Wexford, so it's a bit of logistics to get everybody together at the minute. But work, it's just a matter of planning it. Like I'm going to plan to do it on my days off, and like it is hard work. I mean, from January till probably March, the end of March, actually December, when we decided to do it. So like nearly 4 months I didn't have a day off, literally from work to other work. And people, like, it is, you're doing what you love and you're passionate about it, but it's still hard, like, you know, but worth it.
Yeah, to find the time to do even to find the time to actually plan to do something is, I think between us we could probably write a book on that one.
Yeah.
Because I know you just said you could be having a conversation with somebody in 2 words and you'd think that could be a deadly song, but where else do you find the inspiration for your songs? Like,
people love this question, especially people that I know, because they're like, oh, we're going to get some juicy gossip here, who's this song about? They're very rarely about my personal life. I might kind of have like the bones of a song based on something that I'm feeling, but I generally kind of write. I like to think I'm a storyteller, and I'm writing a story about somebody else, and I kind of always was like that. Like I was always writing, and I'll probably write a book someday. But like I could be watching telly, like I could watch Coronation Street. I don't watch Coronation Street. I'm just taking that as an example of like, and see something happening and be like, that's a good story. I'd like to kind of emulate that in a song form. So kind of come from everywhere.
There's a touch of the Steve Earle about that. He, I think, well, I won't say 100%, but I would say probably 90% of his tracks are from the perspective of somebody that he's writing about, like a character. Yeah. So would you say it's kind of a character-driven thing, that you envision somebody in your mind and write a song?
I would, because I think I'm quite a private person, so I'm not gonna like throw my business out there, and people think like, oh god, like even like you see it, celebrities, like every song Taylor Swift writes, they're like, oh, she must be with a new man. Like no, like it doesn't have to be, you know, about you. Like if she was writing books, it wouldn't always be biographical. So I kind of take a character and I'll write their story for them, kind of thing. Yeah,
flesh it out. Have you been writing more songs during COVID?
Yeah, there's probably 12 new songs ready to go, and kind of going in a new direction as well. So I want to do country music. Wasn't so sure the guys in the band would want to do it, but they've come out and said no, like fully support, like whatever direction you want to go in. It's good, like we all actually enjoy playing together too, so they're going to stick with me for now, and we will see. So the new plan is a country music EP sometime in the new year. No definitive dates just yet, and yeah, just try our hand at that then.
I definitely want to hear more about that, but I want to ask you another question related to COVID and the way that you're, I suppose, the work and the logistics of it. How has it affected the way that you write and record?
So for me, like when we're writing, we kind of do it from a distance anyways, because like I'll write the song, I'll write the lyrics, the guitar, I'll send it to Aaron, he'll have a listen and he'll add his little bits in, and it was always done digitally anyways. Like we were always online kind of floating bits to each other, and then we'd get in and we'd do a rehearsal like physically in the room together, and you'd kind of go, right, I don't like this bit, take this out, put this in, and then you'd go and you'd record all your parts separately anyways. So that's all well and good when you can get into a room together and you can do these things. So that part is kind of gone, but I think it's good for us that we already had the other side of it where it was quite mostly online anyways. And I think because everyone works full time, like the 5 lads in the band, they're all full-time workers as well. So when you have to work around everybody's schedules, and like I think half of us work shifts, so it is really all over the place. So you kind of have to rely on the internet.
Shift work is one of those, oh god, it's awful.
Yeah.
Really
Never
messes
gets
up.
better.
No, it never gets better. I think, and I could be very, very wrong, but I think for Neighborhoods, which is Blink 182 is God, they probably are, even to this day, because I haven't fully grown up, one of my favorite bands. Because I know we've had this conversation as well where I've said I'm not really a band person, I'm a song person, but Blink 182 would be one of my favorite bands. But I'm nearly sure it could be Neighborhoods, it could have been the one before it, that they recorded it in 2 separate studios. So Mark and Travis, who never fell out, were in their studio doing their bit, and they'd send it off to Tom and he'd do his bit, and then it would come back, and I think Mark did a lot of the production on it. But that seems to be becoming, and obviously this is just rhetoric and hearsay, but it seems to be becoming more and more common in the industry that it's done more digitally than ever.
Do you know, it makes things a lot more accessible, because like I know Aaron specifically, he works with so many different artists, and like he's worked with people online, like in different countries. Like you literally do not need to leave your house to have that. Like, I mean, I'm talking about going to Nashville. Like, I'm probably not going to get on a plane to Nashville in the next couple of years, but I am full sure that my music can get there, and that's all through the power of online, you know,
through the power of the internet.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing is, speaking of the power of the internet, not being able to promote your songs traditionally by gigging. Do you think social media has become an even bigger tool for self-promotion? Yeah,
definitely. Like, I mean, YouTube was the very first when I started. Like, I think I put my first video on YouTube about 10, 12 years ago now. I think I put, like, I do covers on YouTube. That's kind of more where that kind of went. And then we have the topic page with the album stuff, like the official stuff. And Facebook, like my personal Facebook page, I've had to make it public so that I can get more kind of people to follow, and just means you put less of your private life up. Instagram, it's public as well, literally just because hashtags are everything now. Like, if someone follows a hashtag, and you could put anything as a hashtag, if they're going to look at that and see your song, then they're going to look at that and see your song. Like, that's just how you have to do it. I think especially like for independent artists, like you get all your money from gigging and selling merchandise at gigs. So that's all gone. So you've no money for like extra promotion, like kind of anywhere else, unless you're funding it yourself. So if you're like utilizing the tool that you have in front of you, like Instagram is free, Facebook is free, it's literally free advertisement. So you just have to take advantage of it.
Would you ever consider going down the path of starting maybe your own Twitch or live YouTube channel to self-promote or do live gigs or that kind of thing?
we actually only had this conversation about 2 weeks ago, and we tried to get everybody free on the same day. We're going to book a rehearsal studio, and we're just going to play it like a live gig and do it as it should be done, as people should hear it. So it's probably not going to happen till after Christmas now, though.
Yeah.
Trying to get everybody in, but it's definitely in the pipeline.
I notice you've mentioned Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, but why aren't you on TikTok?
I am just not technologically gifted enough to be on TikTok. Like, they look so simple, and I would go on and it just wouldn't work out well for me. So I might task one of the lads with setting the TikTok up, and we'll try.
Here's a funny story that I'll probably never admit again. I went just for fun one day to see how easy it is to do. So everybody's seen them, you know, that wipe.
Yeah.
No, I'm fairly technical. That is so far beyond my capabilities.
See, that would be me. Everything would be like, no, this is just not gonna work.
I'd need an entire team around me just to produce the damn thing, and it's only like 15 seconds long.
And like all these TikTok dancers and all, like I have like zero coordination, so that just is just not.
I can do the Savage Love one. All right.
Oh wow.
Speaking of technology and the internet, what are your thoughts on the absolutely emerging dominance of streaming services like your Spotify's, your Twitters, your Deezers, rather, your Apple Music's, versus traditional physical media? And to further on that, the effects that its low revenue stream has on fledgling artists.
I think it's a good and a bad thing. Like, if I was selling CDs, especially as an independent artist, it would cost me so much money to produce them, and yeah, I'd get it back, but again, it's the cost. It's having the funding there. I think for that, like, the streaming sites are amazing because, like, so my music doesn't cost anything to record, which is great because I have friends who can do everything and are more than willing to help. And if I was to produce hard copies, it wouldn't be so easy. Not as many people would hear it. So it kind of has its good and its bad things, because I'd love to have a CD. I'd love to be able to say to people, like, I've a record, but I'm totally on board with, like, I'm not getting money from Spotify, but I am getting exposure. So
Yeah.
I think that's, like, you can't even put a price on that.
I think you always hear down through the years of these bands when they start touring and they take off in a van and they are selling cassettes out of a shoebox at the end of the concert, and you just think, like, probably so many bands or artists gave up that could have potentially changed the world, or at least changed the musical world as we know it, because it was so hard to. It's all well and good for somebody to go to a place, maybe a club that has a battle of the bands on, and they see a band play for 3 minutes. That's fine.
Yeah.
To then turn around and spend however many dollars or euros or whatever it was to buy a cassette or a CD or whatever it was, might be a hard call. So I suppose from that perspective, you could see with the likes of Spotify, because Spotify has their free tier, so literally everybody has access to Spotify. Everybody has access to YouTube because it doesn't cost money beyond what you pay for, having mobile data or internet at home. Yeah. So yeah, I guess, like, now looking at it from that point of view and that perspective, it's probably easier in a way to get your music out there, but would it be fair to say that it's getting more crowded because there's such a freer avenue?
Definitely is. Like, I mean, to get a song onto a Spotify, like an editor's playlist, like, you need to be uploading your songs, like, 6 months in advance, so that they can have, like, as much time to listen to them. And, like, I go onto Spotify every day for hours. Like there's always music playing, and it's rare unless you look for the same. Like unless I'm going, I want to listen to Bruce Springsteen today. If I just put a random playlist on, I will never hear the same song twice. So you can get lost in it. Like you do kind of have to have, like I have a couple of like my songs are on a couple of different playlists added by certain people. But I know one guy personally, Shane Codd, he's actually number 2 in the official UK chart at the minute with a song called Get Out My Head. I met him randomly on a night out and we just kind of started talking about music. And this is how like he just started putting his own kind of dance playlist together. Just other people's songs, he liked them, put his playlist together, and his playlist eventually got so many hits that he put his own song on it. And his song is literally like, it's behind Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You, for Christmas number 1.
Wow.
So like it's crowded, but it can also work. So
of course, yeah. I suppose getting back to physical media, what do you think about the recent resurgence of vinyl records?
I love it because to me that's the sound of home. Because my mom has a record player and has had for years. Like my niece is 4 and she knows how to work the record player. Like there's always vinyl records. So I think it's great. You can go in and buy any, not mine, but you can buy any record on vinyl. And I love it.
You can literally buy them anywhere now. I see they're for sale in Tesco. You can even buy a turntable in Tesco now, which is mad to me. I know, just as a side note, one of the Grumpy Bros, the most famous export from Cork outside of Beamish, if you're listening, Mr. Stone Deaf, he was in a Golden Discs recently and he saw that the whole first floor had been converted to servicing all things vinyl, including turntables. And you have to think, like, if the likes of HMV and all that were still around, like, it would be wall to wall vinyl.
Definitely. Like, isn't it mad though that we've gone from a turntable, we went all the way down to like a mini iPod, and now we're going back, like.
Well, the best things always come back around. That's why
that's true.
bootcut jeans will never die. To go, I suppose, to a more, I don't know what way to really describe it. Over the last 10 years or so, call it the 2010s, there's been this massive upswing in like female driven music, with the likes of Adele being one of, if maybe the biggest selling artists of the decade. And you have the likes of Nicki Minaj then completely rewriting what it means to be a female, rap and R&B star. And Miley Cyrus, who's constantly evolving and pushing boundaries, and that's just 3 off the top of my head. How do you feel as a female artist facing into the next decade with that kind of turn in momentum?
It makes you kind of look and go, like, there's representation there, like, I can do that, like, there's somebody before me has just done it, so why wouldn't I be able to do it? But on the other side of that, like we've spoke about, like, I would listen to a lot of country music, and I know in the last year there's been a massive fight in Nashville and outside of Nashville for female artists to be heard on country music radio. Like, it's something like only 10% of songs played on country music radio are women, and they'll never play 2 women back to back, which is crazy when you've got like Mary Morris is like one of the biggest selling artists in America, like in all genres, and yet they won't play her on the radio. So you're kind of going, right, Miley Cyrus and Nicki Minaj, they are kind of blazing a trail, but there's still so much work to be done. Kind of feel though it takes the pressure off me a little bit, because I'm like, I don't have to push to be played on the radio, because these amazing women, like, I love their music, are not being played on the radio. So if I have my fans like me who just sit in my house and I'm like, I love her and she gets me through my day when I'm listening to her, then that's enough for me. Do you know, that kind of way?
I get you. I hear that. So I guess now is the perfect time to go back to your country roots.
Yeah.
Tell us about your next big adventure then. So
the next one is going to be a country EP. I've always said that my dream, like if someone was to say like, where do you want to go with music? My dream is to play at the Grand Ole Opry. And when I'm writing, mostly like if I'm writing for me, on a personal level of this is my song, this is not going to be changed by the band. It's always going to be aiming, this will be played at the Opry. I can hear this being played at the Opry. So the EP I want to release is going to be 4, maybe 5 songs that I will take there. So that's the songs are, I think, written. There could be one sneaky one thrown in, but pretty certain that I have them all ready to go. I know what ones are going on it. We just have to get a little bit of tweaking and recording, and we'll be set.
So I know, like we've obviously spoken about this as well. I'm a big fan of country. Proper though, you know, like country, not like country and Irish. God love them. They try, but
like anytime I say like, oh, I love country music, people are like Nathan Carter. There's nothing wrong with Nathan Carter. If you love the wagon wheel, you love the wagon wheel. But that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, I'm going back, like my dad used to sing Johnny Cash. Like, he can't sing, but he used to sing them. Like we listened to Garth Brooks in the car going to school. Like it was always like older country music, like I can't even think now, like Emmylou Harris. Like, I mean, I love her. So I'm talking about like classic country, like, you know. So
you have the likes of Charlie Pride, who, just to mention, passed away in the last week from COVID related illness, I believe.
We were literally only speaking about him the other day.
Yeah, because that was that was my dad way back when it was all cassettes, and it was the wall-to-wall Charlie Pride in our house. There's a lot of them still there, but that, like, you know, the originals like Charlie Pride and Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, Merle Haggard. But I love the likes of Steve Earle, and you know, recently probably, I think I said this to you as well, like Chance Anderson Band, and that kind of, it's like country rock, but not like country rock, like a softer country rock, just that kind of thing. So I'm really looking forward to hearing this country.
Well, I hope it lives up to your expectations now. Because, like,
you know what? I'm sure it will.
I feel like I've put a lot of pressure on myself because I want it to be. I want to release an EP that I know, like, because I listen to all these people that play at the Opry, and I'm like, I could do that. Like, they're the kind of songs I can write. So I really hope that, like, I release something that, like, can do that. So,
well, I think as long as it lives up to your expectations, then you know, everyone else will be,
it doesn't
absolutely.
Really matter.
Yeah. Well, like I say, if it meets your expectations, then everyone else will be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to my favorite part, the quick fire round.
Oh, this makes me nervous.
Fingers on the buzzers, please. What is the first album that you remember listening to?
That would be Garth Brooks' Rope in the Wind, On the Way to School.
Lovely. If you had to choose one artist to work with right now, who and why?
It would be Bruce Springsteen, because I will probably never ever get a chance again, and I just love him. So it would just be a mix of like complete awe and like, this just needs to happen.
If you, wow, imagine it. If you had to move to another genre of music outside of obviously country and your current, what and why?
I would go R&B, and probably because I listened to more R&B than anything growing up. So yeah, like Brandy and Monica, Destiny's Child, like they were all like Kerry Hilson, right up my alley. So yeah, I'd probably just go there and just chill all of them.
I had high hopes for hip hop there, but I'll take R&B. I'll take R&B. What is your favorite album of all time besides your own?
I was like, this one really got me. So it's between Justin Timberlake, Justified,
Oh,
and Kanye West, The College Dropout.
oh,
I
wow.
couldn't choose between the two.
Justified.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're like way out there for me. Like they're not like, you know, they're just albums I put on, and I'm like, these are unreal, great songs.
That was the one. Justified was
Senorita and
drums. Doom, doom, da doom, 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 da doom, da doom. Yeah,
yeah,
love it. We used to listen to that going up and down from Dublin every weekend. I had that CD. Not afraid to admit it.
great
Not in
album.
the least bit. Great album. What's your go-to pick-me-up song?
This is also difficult because I kind of just listen to everything. But when I was thinking about this TikTok, I found that song "Electric Love." I don't know how to pronounce his name. Born, maybe. I've had it on the radio like ever since. Like it's just so catchy and just so like it just gives you a proper little lift. So that's probably the one right now.
Taylor Swift or Miley Cyrus?
Taylor Swift. Been a fan since the Teardrops on My Guitar days, and I'm a big fan of like the folky stuff she's doing now as well.
Barry's tea or Lion's tea?
Lions, Gold Blend, all day, every day.
Some people will be unhappy with that, I think. Tato or King?
Tato.
Oh, come on. All right. This one's tough. Chris Pratt, Chris Pine, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, or Chris Pratt?
I've literally just started watching the Marvel movies in their phases, and I'm going to go with Chris Evans, Captain America.
There is a line I could say right now, but I think it will have more impact if you hear it in its original form, so I'm going to wait until that happens. What are your thoughts on Chris Rock?
My only thought on him is from Wycliffe Jean, Perfect Gentleman. Chris Rock said there's no sex in the champagne room. That's about it.
Did you enjoy Christmas?
I will enjoy Christmas.
I will. Yeah.
When this is released, I'll be like, yeah, I did. It was great. Amazing.
Yeah. Who is the best James Bond and why is it Sean Connery?
Oh. See, I have a thing for Pierce Brosnan, so I'm going to go with Pierce Brosnan.
See, I actually didn't write that question.
Well, it's Sean Connery because he's Scottish.
Yes. Yeah. What does your end of year Spotify playlist look like?
Oh, like it's all over the place. There's Cam, she's a country artist that I love. There's Ashanti. There's a bit of Justin Bieber there. Like it's literally all over the place. Like anyone you could think of is probably on there.
Mine is, I actually only had this conversation the other day. Mine is wall to wall My Chemical Romance and Panic at the Disco. Yeah. No,
Do you
great.
like Youngblood?
Yeah.
I was listening the other day and I got like proper My Chemical Romance vibes off him.
The song he did with Halsey, 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Two things about that. The first thing is just the track. The whole thing about it is beautiful. The video, the way they shot that video, it's a sight to behold. The whole thing from start to finish is phenomenal, and it's dragged up a level by the fact that my favorite drummer of all time, Travis Barker, is involved, because I really, really, really love Travis Barker. Leanne, if I was browsing through Spotify and I happened upon Neon Love, can you tell me why I should stop and listen to it?
You should stop and listen to it because it would really help me out. No, honestly, I think it's just, you can see that it's like 5 people that just absolutely love what they're doing. We did exactly the music that we wanted to play. There's no higher producer power kind of saying this is the music you can put out, this is what you can and can't do, this is what the radio wants to hear. Like, I mean, Bulletproof is 7.5 minutes long. You don't get that on albums anymore. We literally wanted to put the most musicality into it that we could, and it was like, if it's 7.5 minutes long, so be it. If people like it, they'll listen. So I'd say give it a go. You might hear something that you really like, and you'll stick around.
I think a very important band were once told that radios will never play a song for 7.5 minutes, and well, Bohemian Rhapsody went on to become one of the biggest tracks of all time. So, it's not. You
don't put Bohemian Rhapsody off. You play it.
You play Bohemian Rhapsody. Leanne, you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you very, very much for taking time out of your schedule to do this with us.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
And just Leanne's music can be found literally anywhere you can stream music: Spotify, Deezer, Amazon. What am I forgetting? Apple Music, YouTube. Yeah,
there,
everywhere. We will have links to Leanne's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram in the description. Check her out, give her a follow, give her a like. Links to the Spotify. I think if we can do that as well, we'll have it on Apple Music. And as always, we'll have links to our own stuff down there as well. We'll stick a link to Arkouda as well in the description. So, check everybody out. And again, Leanne, thanks very much for coming on.
Cheers, thanks very much.
We'll see you all on the next First Person Shoot.